Back with us on the SportsMax Zone, we continue with athletics. The hearing into the doping charges brought against double sprint under-20 world champion Briana Williams ended on Tuesday at Eden Gardens Wellness Resort and Spa in Kingston, Jamaica. The end came a day earlier than scheduled. The independent anti-doping disciplinary panel, chaired by attorney Kent Gammon and including Dr. Marjorie Vassell and Denise Forrest, ended the proceedings without setting a time or date for the delivery of their decision. Now, a sample given by the 17-year-old Williams at Jamaica's national senior trials in June was found to contain the banned diuretic hydrochlorothiazide. The panel's reluctance to set a time or date for their decision has prompted Williams' legal team to suggest they may turn to the Court of Arbitration for Sport to expedite the process. Of course, the World Championships start on September 27 this weekend. Williams has been named in Jamaica's preliminary squad for the World Championships and is down to contest the 100 meters. This is what Chairman Gammon told reporters at the close of the hearing on Tuesday. Quote, "We have taken into account that factor of the World Championships, but it's not going to predicate how we decide. It has been something we are familiar with. We are aware of it because this thing has international implication, because the IAAF is also interested in the outcome. But it's not going to cause me and the panel members, Ms. Denise Forrester and Dr. Vassell, to rush because of some other event external to Jamaica." He continues, "But we are moving to decide the matter fairly, and we will do so in a good period of time. We have made no consideration of taking into account any consideration in respect to sanctions or no sanctions with the World Championships in the offering. We have not made any findings, nor will we. This is not how we operate." Well, we're pleased to be joined on set by one of the attorneys handling the case on Briana Williams' behalf, Matthew Gayle. Welcome, counsel.
Thank you. Perhaps I should just quickly clarify that I am not an attorney in Jamaica.
Yes.
I am an attorney practicing in Trinidad and Tobago.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And your specific brief in regards to this matter, explain that for us.
Well, I was one of the four representatives representing Briana Williams at the tribunal, which took place, as you said, in Jamaica Monday and Tuesday this week.
Yes.
So,
based on what transpired over the 2 days of the hearings and what your team, the team that you were part of, was able to submit to the tribunal, how do you think those arguments, those pleadings were received?
all right. I mean, first, perhaps, if I could just wind back a little bit and comment on the statement you just read. And the first thing I would say is that in my experience in these type of tribunals, as well as in the practice of law elsewhere, highly irregular for a chair of a panel of this nature to be commenting in the press and to be engaging in a public discourse when the panel is still
deliberating.
I mean, it's still convened and it's still seized of the matter. So it's highly irregular. And that really speaks to the whole theme that started when we had the preliminary hearing a few weeks ago and has continued straight through to the hearing on Monday and Tuesday this week. The panel has been governed, and in particular the chair, Mr. Gammon, has presided over what, in my view, I mean, some would say perhaps even maybe a sham. I mean, the level of procedural irregularities. I mean, JAAA, particularly because Ms. Williams is a minor,
yes,
JAAA has the burden of proof to discharge, and I think that was accepted by all parties. So JAAA, and the starting point therefore must be JAAA must present a case and say to the athlete, you have a case to answer.
Yes.
Mr. Gammon in the preliminary hearing said that he wanted the athlete to go first. And he said this in the guise of facilitating her because she lives outside of the jurisdiction and because she's in school, he wanted to make it easier for her. And at that time, it seemed that it was taken in good faith. That was then used by JAAA's representative team to launch a technical and procedural barrage, which ultimately ended up excluding key and critical evidence, which was basically the athlete's explanation. It's an explanation that I think will be well familiar to your viewers, as well familiar to people in the nation. And it's really sad. It's sad that the whole point of having this tribunal is to remove it from the courts and to allow the interests of sport and the interests of fairness and justice, and particularly because we're dealing with a minor, to dominate. And Mr. Gammon has turned it into a legal, I mean, it really was disappointing to see. And the level of procedural irregularities, as I said, I mean, it ended up being the case where highly technical legal sanctions were imposed on the athlete with a very sort of carte blanche and quite light and I guess fairer, less legalistic approach was taken with respect to JAAA's evidence. Because the panel and the tribunal started on Monday with the chair and the panel saying that JAAA's evidence could come in, notwithstanding the fact that they were in breach of the clear, and it was very clear, the order that the panel had made at the preliminary hearing, and the chair said, we're not taking any witness statements after a certain point. And you know, in the interest of fairness and the interest of justice, it seems about right that the witness statements be let in, right? You might think that. Then, when it comes to applying highly technical and legal, and quite draconian steps against the athlete, which had the effect of seeking to exclude evidence that really would have explained how the athlete found herself in this position. And as I said, it was a minor we're dealing with. So, I mean, even if you're going to apply these rigorous standards, right, first of all, you do it consistently.
Yes.
And you would expect, with the case of a minor, a certain degree of latitude to be afforded. And it really ended up being, I mean, you know, the legal team is led by Dr. Emir Crown, and I was his second chair. It ended up being, you know, very much a barrage from the chair, and the chair, Mr. Gammon, and against Dr. Crown. And even at some stage, I mean, which is a breach of my own protocol, I had to step in and I had to say, Mr. Chair, you know, this is not between Dr. Crown, this is about the athlete.
Yes. So let me ask you this. Having said all of that, and that's very revealing, is it your considered opinion, counsel, that perhaps the chairman of the proceedings betrayed a certain inexperience that put the proceedings, at least from your perspective, into some kind of disrepute?
Well, my understanding is that he's an attorney at law of some standing,
but to the specific matter, though, he has never. This is a new posting for him. So I'm asking you from that basis.
Well, as I said, my understanding is an attorney at law of some considerable experience. I would have expected a better understanding if you're going to apply strict legal principles. I mean, he said the athlete's evidence fell afoul of the hearsay rules.
Yes.
If evidence falls foul of hearsay rules and is inadmissible as a consequence of that, then it is inadmissible per se. And if those are the rules of the tribunal, they should apply to both parties. Yes. In fact, they were only applied to the athlete's evidence. Rulings were made on applications. I mean, I received a 3-page written ruling on an application made by the athlete. We never made any application.
Right. Yes.
So where did that ruling? I mean, clearly the application was made by JAAA's lawyers. And I should say, I mean, this was all taking place in the context of, and perhaps one of the reasons why Dr. Crown isn't here today is because he did this tribunal. I mean, he conducted this tribunal, and I have to say quite well. In the face of threatened litigation arising out of his conduct of these proceedings from JAAA.
Yes. So do you, I know that counsel from time to time are loath to be seen to be bashing their learned friends, but I'm going to ask you the question clearly because I'm not an attorney, I'm a journalist, and I have to probe for my own openings for the benefit of my audience, my publics. Do you believe that at certain points in the proceedings, and I'm not saying by collusion, but by how things went, that it was almost as if it was Briana Williams' team versus JAAA and the panel presiding over the proceedings itself?
Certainly in law, and as I said, I'm not qualified to comment on legal matters in this jurisdiction, but certainly from my experience in law, I was trained in England, and I as I said, I qualified and practiced in Trinidad.
Yes.
The chairman of a panel, Mr. Gammon was the chair in this case, of an attorney at law with some experience, should not condescend into the arena and get involved with the attacking of witnesses.
Yes.
We saw that.
Okay.
The chairman of a panel should not be getting involved with commenting in the media, particularly when they're seized of the matter. We saw that. The chairman of the panel should not get involved in a tete-a-tete with one of the representatives. We saw that. The chairman of the panel shouldn't be spending, I mean, you would have seen in the statement that you would have read that he made. He's defending himself and his fairness, and everybody, and, you know, there's countless in my notes, countless times I wrote down, everyone who knows me knows that I'm fair. Everyone that knows, if you're a fair tribunal chair. Exactly.
So the chairman was the star of the proceedings then?
Look, I didn't say that, but certainly.
His behavior was consistent with someone who wanted to be the chairman, the star of the proceedings when it was about the athlete and the case against her.
Exactly, and the fact that she was a minor, to my mind, seems certainly the evidence of that awareness wasn't present to me. If we just put it like that.
Yes.
So I would have expected the chair to conduct himself in a much more impartial way. Yes.
I have to take a break because I want to say something in defense of the chairman's conduct, at least post the proceedings, and I want to hear your perspective on it. We're talking about the Briana Williams matter that is now in the hands of a disciplinary panel, which will deliver a ruling when we're not quite sure, and that has Williams' team justifiably nervous, given that the athlete and Doha set to happen. Well, Doha will happen one way or the other, but will the athlete be there? That's a concern of her team. Much more after this break.